Welcome to today's episode of Family Fandom Talk, FFT, the show where we invite families, parents, and kids to talk about the latest fan stuff. My name is Emily, and this is my dad, Michael.
Thank you, Emily. And as we do every week, we'll start off with going over the rules for our conversation here. Big thing is no cursing, family-friendly show. Usually not a problem when it's just the two of us. Parents and kids both need to be fans. The idea is that eventually, we're going to start having more. We've had one set of parents and kids in addition to us. We hope to have more in the future. I've been asking lots of people, but we really want at least one member of each side of the family, from the adult side and from the kid side, to both be fans of the stuff we're talking about. And then the kids that will be involved really need to be old enough to really have this kind of conversation, really be able to talk about the subjects, and also really the big thing is being able to pay attention long enough to get through the show. So probably I'd say definitely not 5 or under. And I'd say the most important rule of our rules, number 4, is that all opinions are valid. In our conversation, we never want someone to be telling someone else they're wrong. We never want anyone to even be indicating that someone else's opinion isn't as important as someone else's. The kids' opinions are just as important with the parents, if not more in a lot of cases. And no one should be telling each other off or really arguing. I mean, we could have a conversation, and if you know that a fact that someone says is incorrect, you can correct the fact, but you should never be telling someone that they're wrong. And so what is it that we're talking about? What is fandom? So fandom stuff in our definition is really just, it's the fun stuff. It's movies, TV shows, comics, books, music. Mostly we talk a lot about, superhero movies and TV shows, comic books and movies, but we also talk about, Disney stuff. I mean, just about anything on Disney Plus that we watch, other shows that we're into, we may discuss on here. Mostly we tend to focus on superhero movies and TV shows just because that's what me and Emily kind of are both into, and Disney princesses and stuff like that. But as we get more people involved, that conversation will hopefully broaden out and get some more stuff in there. And then one warning, number 6, is spoilers. The stuff that we're going to be talking about, if a movie has already come out in the theaters or it's shown up on a streaming service, if an episode is aired on TV, it's fair game for us to talk about. If you haven't seen, if we start talking about something and you haven't seen it yet, feel free, if you're watching the live, to wait till we're recorded afterwards and you can watch it afterwards. Or if you're watching it recorded, go ahead and just pause, watch whatever, we're talking about first, and then coming back. We will definitely be spoiling the heck out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier today. That is really going to be the main focus of our conversation. So with all that covered, let's go ahead and get started. And our first segment is talking about the news.
Fandom news.
Okay, so in the fandom news, the first thing we're going to be talking about, a new trailer for Marvel came out this week. I was actually surprised because Marvel I don't think ever has put out a trailer for a movie past the movie that's coming up. They almost always, have the next big movie coming up, and then they'll do the trailer for the next one after that. In this case, the next movie coming up is Black Widow, which has been pushed back like how many times now? I mean, it was supposed to be last May, then it was supposed to be last fall, then it was supposed to be this May, and now it's going to be this July. So it's been pushed back 4 times. So I think Marvel realized at this point, Shang-Chi comes out in the fall. It comes out like the first week in September. You need to start building some interest, especially for a character who's not been in any Marvel movies yet, who's never really been done in any medium other than comics. He's never appeared in cartoons. He's really not been. It's a character that is not really known outside of comics. They really need to build interest and excitement for this character. So they in my opinion made the smart move and finally said, okay, we need to get a trailer out there. It's April already. We need to start getting people interested in this movie. And I said in a previous show that we weren't going to show trailers just because I know of other shows that have shown trailers and then get pulled off of YouTube or get taken down live. I'm just going to go with that. I think we're so small at this point. We appreciate every one of you who's watching, but there's still a very small amount of you. So, we're going to take our chances. We're going to go into, go ahead and watch the trailer and let's see what happens. If you're watching this live and we get taken down, you'll know why. So here we go with the trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I gave you 10 years to live your life. Now you see me rise. And where did that get you? You walked in my shadow. I trained you. The most dangerous people in the world couldn't kill you. Son, it's time for you to take your place by my side. You better watch out, 'cause it's my time. The power in this soul mine. That's not going to happen. Where are you? Second alive. Outrun who you really are.
Who are you?
Bugger.
We make a good team.
September 3rd, 2021. We keep seeing these movies where Marvel is trying whole new genres, whole new areas where they haven't succeeded or they haven't tried movies before, and they keep getting it right. I mean, this is now, a whole new genre, the kind of kung fu, martial arts, East Asian kind of style of filmmaking, and a story that's, about Asian people. I'm excited about it. What do you think, Emily?
I'm not as excited.
Well, you don't know the character.
Yes.
But what did you think? Like Awkwafina there, she's clearly playing the kind of comedic relief. It was like all serious, and then Awkwafina comes on screen, who we last heard as Raya the Last Dragon.
In Raya and the Last Dragon.
Well, she was. Oh, Raya. Oh, okay, that's right.
She
Raya
was
not
the Last Dragon.
She was the Last Dragon. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You said she was Raya and the Last Dragon.
Okay. Yes. What did you think about it?
The trailer?
Yes.
Okay. I thought we were going back to Freya. I think it looks exciting, but I'm not really interested in seeing it.
And we just started watching the show Kung Fu this week, so anything with that?
Has a female lead character.
That does have a female lead character. Okay, so that's definitely not as interesting to you because it's a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's totally fair. I mean, I'm excited. I'm familiar with the comic book character. I mean, I didn't read it extensively, but I read it in the 70s. I'm excited that we're following up on a kind of a dangling plot from the very first Marvel movie, from Iron Man, because in Iron Man we were told that the villain of Iron Man 1 and the villain of Iron Man 3 worked for the organization of the Ten Rings and worked for the Mandarin. And then we were shown in the third movie someone who we were told was the Mandarin, but then turned out not to be the Mandarin. It was someone who was a fake version of the Mandarin. which people were happier about that because he wasn't Asian. He didn't fit the character really from the comics, and then they had him just be a comic relief played by Ben Kingsley. But then there was a short, a Marvel short that showed him in prison and showed him being busted out because the actual Mandarin was angry. So the Mandarin is the person who actually possesses the 10 rings, who wears one ring on each finger that is supposed to each have a different power. They're supposed to have actually come from aliens and from alien technology before they came to Earth. And I think what they're showing here is that the villain of this movie, Shang-Chi's father, is the Mandarin, so is the real Mandarin. So we're now kind of following up on that dangling plot hole there from the 3 Iron Man movies, and we're now going to see what the real story of the 10 rings are. So that's why it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Oscar and Emmy-winning actress Olivia Coleman. She actually was starred as Queen Elizabeth in the last 2 seasons of The Crown, and won awards for that. She's also won Oscars for a string of really, really amazing performances. I mean, she's one of our kind of best British, award-winning actresses. She is rumored to be in talks to be part of the Secret Invasion TV series. Because the only 2 actors that we know for sure at this point are in it are, from Captain Marvel, is Sam Jackson Jr., Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, and then the actor who played the main Skrull in there. We know that they are coming back. We've seen the Skrull come. We've been teased him in Spider-Man: Far From Home. We know that he's working with Nick Fury. We also know from WandaVision that the Skrulls recruited the new Photon, potentially Monica Rambeau. So we're kind of starting to see pieces come together for the Secret Invasion show that they're going to start making next year. So we have no idea who she might be playing, but it's just Marvel is just doing such a good job of getting really good quality actors to appear in their shows and their movies, and really good quality writers and directors. I mean, it's looking very strong that at the Oscars this weekend, Chloe Zhao may win the Academy Award for Nomadland, and her next film after she wins the Academy Award potentially for Best Film, potentially as Best Writer, potentially as Best Director, her next film is going to be Marvel's The Eternals. So I mean, that's Marvel can pick them. I mean, they picked a filmmaker who's going to be 2 films from now in the fall debuting a Marvel movie, who could potentially be an Academy Award winning filmmaker.
Yeah.
I know you don't know the comics on that. Is there any thoughts on it at all, or I mean, I know you're excited by the Skrull at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah, I was excited by that.
I know you love Captain Marvel.
Yes, I do.
And Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
What?
I wish you would stop laughing when I say yes.
Sorry. I will try not to. Okay, next. We've talked a lot. Actually, the Flash movie. The director of that, Andy Muschietti, put out on Twitter and Instagram a little animated, just like a 2-3 second animated logo presentation. So it just, this is the logo that, for the new Flash movie. The reason he put it out was at the beginning of this week, they started day 1 of production. So the movie is actually beginning. It is the same actor who played the Flash in Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League now. It's the same actress who played Iris West. She's back. They've replaced the actor who played his dad. They've cast actors for his mom. They've cast an actress for Supergirl in the movie. We know that the original movie, well, not the original, but the 1989 movie Batman, Michael Keaton, he is coming back, and he is going to be appearing as one of the versions of Batman in the movie. We know that Ben Affleck, who was Batman in Zack Snyder's Justice League, is coming in as another version of Batman, because we know it is going to be based on the Flash paradox. or I can't remember the name of it, but the storyline in the comics that where the Flash went back in time and changed the past so that his mother was not killed, and so his mother was alive in the future. But then when he gets to that future, the world is radically different. So a Flashpoint was the name of the storyline,
and I believe they did a show about that too.
Yeah, the CW Flash did a version of that storyline as well. So yeah, so they've done a version of Flash.
That wasn't exactly what I was talking about.
Okay, then tell me what you're talking about.
Well, I believe it was the one animated movie.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yes. And the point I remember where he does Flashpoint is like at the very end. I believe it's Superman or Batman says, "Do it, Flash," and he does Flashpoint again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he goes back and changes it back, and then comes back to the present, and it's more like the past he remembered or the present he remembered, but still not exactly. There's still changes. So if they follow similar ideas, it's going to be that the Flash is in a changed world, realizes that this changed world is not what he wants, goes back and changes it again. But at the end of it, it's still changed, but it's at least a better change this time. So if they follow kind of similar ideas there, the idea is that it is going to explore multiple versions of things. So, one Batman, the Ben Affleck Batman, may be the one current, and the Michael Keaton Batman may be in the Flashpoint version. Michael Keaton actually has been reported to the set, I believe, this first week of shooting, so they're probably going to get his stuff out of the way as quickly as they can because he's a very busy actor, and he's usually at one point they thought he wasn't going to be able to be in the film because the schedules weren't going to line up, but supposedly he did show up this week to start filming his scenes in the Flash movie. So it's happening. I mean, the one thing I would say about it is this movie and another movie we've been talking about a lot, the Black Adam movie, are two movies that, when we watched the DC Fandom last year, where they kind of did a virtual convention where they did panels about, all the upcoming DC projects and Warner Brothers projects for DC. They did panels on the Flash movie and the Black Adam movie, which I've kind of thought for years, because they've been working on these two films for so long, especially Black Adam. They've been working on it a really long time. I thought they were never going to happen. And even as we were watching it last year and filmmakers were talking about it, I was like, these movies are never going to happen. Well, they're happening. Flash, they're happening. Yeah, Flash started shooting this week. Black Adam is shooting pretty soon here. I think they're starting production within the next couple weeks, definitely by the summer. So these movies are really happening. I mean, Black Adam is out next summer. I think Flash isn't out till probably late 2023. So I mean, but they're definitely happening. They've begun production.
2023, late 2023.
Actually, either 2023 or late 2022. I would guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had me worried for a second.
It could still be 2023 because these do take a while, and they do have to kind of figure out the schedule on them. So. But the fact is, it's actually happening. We are getting this Flash movie, with the actor from Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I did not think was going to happen. So, at least a positive development. More movies.
Yes.
Next up, Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't know if I think I'd cut the story a couple weeks ago talking about Russel Crowe was cast in the movie. We don't know the role, but in the last couple days, it's been rumored that Russel Crowe did some radio interviews and did start talking about the fact that he is playing Zeus. I think he used the word Zeusified. So we know that it's Thor: Love and Thunder, and the villain is a character from the comics called the God Butcher. So we could start to speculate that, why he would be playing Zeus is if, the God Butcher is going around trying to kill gods, and Thor is going to have to defeat him. It's not a spoiler because we're just purely speculating, but it seems like, if they're going to cast a bunch of actors in probably smaller roles playing, different gods, this may be the reason. And that's interesting that, I'm guessing that the version of Zeus that they're showing here is from the comics, from the Marvel comics, so a version of Zeus from there, and they definitely can see how Russel Crowe would be a good actor for that. Anything?
Not really.
Okay.
And just to talk about it,
Yeah, please.
This morning, we were talking about how the days of the week are named after gods.
That's the Norse gods specifically. Yep.
Thursday is Thor's day.
Yep. And then Wednesday was Odin's Day or Wotan's Day. Different versions of the stories from different parts of the world. The Germanic version is
And Friday was Frigga Day.
Yep, Frigga, his mother. Yep, correct. Yep, we were talking about that.
And they're on either side of him.
Yep, his mother and his father. Yep. Okay, and our last news story is one that's a little bit more complicated. Disney and Sony have gotten into a new deal. For some background on this, so Sony years and years ago, I mean in the early 2000s, had paid for the rights to be able to do Spider-Man movies. Previously, before 2005, when Marvel started making their own movies, for decades before that, the only way Marvel characters from the comics got made into TV shows or movies was when other companies paid Marvel for the rights to do them, because they didn't have the capacity to create their own. They didn't have studios. In the 80s, Marvel did have their own animation studios, and so there were a bunch of cartoons that came out in the 90s that were produced by Marvel Animation. But until 2005, there was no such thing as a Marvel Studios. So any movies were all licensed. So a license meaning another company paid Marvel Comics for the license to do their character. And now, over the years, kind of as those licenses have ended, almost all of those characters have come back to Marvel Comics. And then the last couple big ones that were still held by Fox, which were like X-Men in particular and Fantastic Four in particular, which tied up a whole bunch of characters that Marvel Studios could not use because they were owned by Fox, now have come back to Disney because Disney bought Fox, which is one way to do it.
Yeah.
Disney's not going to be buying Sony anytime soon because Sony's a lot bigger company that has a lot more money because they do electronics.
It has a lot more stuff.
Yeah, they have a lot more stuff. So Sony had paid for the rights to do Spider-Man, and they did the movie in 2002, so that predated Marvel Studios. The way these licenses usually work is you pay for it for a certain amount of time. And within that certain amount of time that you've paid for the license, you have to make the movie. The movie has to be made, and it has to at least come out somewhere for you to hold on to that license. Because otherwise, if you go through, because usually you pay for it for a couple of years. Usually it's like 1 to 5 years. You pay for the rights to make a movie based on that character. And if after that time ends and you haven't done it, those rights come back to the people who originally own those rights, the people you had to pay for those rights. It's the same thing with books. Yeah, it's the same thing with authors and stuff like that. So authors, when they write a book and then people pay for the licenses, or in the books it's called options, to turn that book into a movie. And if you don't make it over after a certain period of time, then it comes back to the author and they can sell it to someone else. So Sony, because they made so much money with the original 2002 Spider-Man film, are not going to stop making Spider-Man films. They make too much money from it. So that license is not going back to Marvel anytime soon. So, Disney or Sony keeps making sure that they always have, that they're working on the next, Spider-Man movie. And they're now up to what, let's see, 5, 7, 8. So they've done 8 so far. So if you count the first 3 that they made with one filmmaker and one actor, they made 2 with a different filmmaker and a different actor. Then they made Into the Spider-Verse, the animated film, and then the now 2 that they've made with Disney. So the weird kind of complicated deal that Disney and Sony had done after the last Sony movie that they had done that didn't do very well. It did not as well as the kind of 4 movies before it. So after that, Sony was like, well, Marvel's now making their own movies. They seem to be really good at it. Their movies make money. They're very successful. So Disney and Sony put together a very complicated deal that allowed Sony to make the movie using Disney's creative team. So the Marvel Studios creative people make the movies for Sony. So Sony still owns the movies. And then as part of that deal, the character of Spider-Man and the actor who's playing him gets to be used in Marvel movies and to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So basically Marvel's making these movies for Sony. Sony makes most of the money. Marvel gets a small amount of the money, but they get to use Spider-Man in the Marvel movies. So that's the kind of trade there. That's what's existed for a couple of years, and it may end with the next one with Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home may be the last movie that gets made under that arrangement. We're going to have to see. The last time between the second one and this one, there was a huge renegotiation, and it came down to, like, there were a couple days where everyone thought, okay, this is done, the deal is over, it's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to make a third movie in the Marvel Sony Spider-Man trilogy. They worked out the deal at the last minute, and we are going to get Spider-Man No Way Home. So separate from all of that, this is none of the existing Spider-Man movies have been able to be shown on Disney Plus, because Sony sells those rights to those movies that they own, even though Marvel owns the character, but Sony has the rights to the movies. So because they own the movies, they get to decide who gets to show the older movies. And so far, that's been primarily Netflix. So recently, Sony, a couple weeks ago, set up a new deal with Netflix for billions of dollars. This is tons of money that Sony gets out of this for their movies. And this is not just Spider-Man. This is all of Sony's kind of movies, for them to be shown exclusively on Netflix for the first couple months. There's like different windows. Man, this is a huge, long explanation that I'm taking up. It's a really complicated story, though. I mean, it's really tough to kind of describe this one, because it's very complicated business arrangements. So Sony did a new deal with Netflix for billions of dollars that will let all of Sony's movies for the next couple of years, at least through like 2026, they will play on Netflix first. So they'll go to the theaters first, then they'll go to Netflix. But now this week, the big new news is that Sony then went to Disney and made a deal with Disney, so that after the window with Netflix ends, so after the first couple months, and I think it probably will vary anywhere between like 1 to like 6 to 9 months for how long things will stay on Netflix. After Sony movies have played on Netflix for that period of time, they are then available for Disney to play them. And it's not just, it is on Disney Plus, but it's across all of Disney's properties. So it's Freeform, it's Hulu, it's Disney Plus, all of the kind of channels and streaming services that Disney owns will then have the ability for a period of time through 2026 to be able to show those movies and TV shows. So all of the Sony Spider-Man movies that have never been able to be on Disney Plus will be able to come to Disney Plus after they've done their windows with Netflix.
Okay, that took a while.
It really did. It's a really long explanation to get to a short point, which is Spider-Man movies are coming to Disney Plus. Well, because I know you and I, when we first got Disney Plus, we started watching a lot of stuff on there, and especially in the last couple months, we had started rewatching a lot of the Disney movies, the Marvel movies, the MCU movies, and we kept coming across the fact that what we can't watch on there are any of the Spider-Man movies. You actually can't watch the Incredible Hulk movie because Universal still has part of the license of that, because Universal originally had the license.
About that.
Yeah, we talked about that. This goes all the way back to the 1970s when Universal did the Hulk live action TV show. Because of that licensing deal, Universal had to be involved with the one live action Incredible Hulk movie that Marvel made right after Iron Man. It was made at the same time as Iron Man and came out a couple months later. That Incredible Hulk movie can't be shown on Disney Plus because Universal is the one who still owns the rights to that and still owns the rights to do a Hulk movie. Because of that, it is the reason why Hulk only appears in other Marvel movies, and there's not been another Hulk movie by itself, because Marvel doesn't want to do it if they have to work with another studio. It's just not worth it to them. But they can use the character because they still own the character, and it's not doing it as long as it's not a Hulk movie by himself or a movie titled The Hulk. Disney can use the character in other movies and have him be part of the MCU, and also have him be part of the TV show She-Hulk, because the She-Hulk character is not covered by that license. So. Yeah, so they're actually starting that one during the summer. That one's supposed to be potentially later this year. So any thoughts about any of this?
As I said 2 weeks ago, smashing tables.
Smashing tables, yes, the She-Hulk series. Yep, we are looking forward very much to that, and we'll see what they do with that, because that will bring back Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. So I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world is licensing agreements, but that's kind of the history of Marvel's properties and being owned by other people. Like all the movies, anything that happened, from the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 2000s. I mean, literally all the way up to 2005. was because the properties had all been licensed out to other people, and all the X-Men movies, those were all Fox movies. The Fantastic Four movies, those were all Fox movies. But now with Disney buying Fox, all of those characters come home. So really, we're down to Spider-Man and the Hulk as the only two characters that Marvel, that Disney cannot make a live-action movie about by themselves. All right, that takes us through that. And so now we're going to move into the talk time for our reviews.
Finally.
If I can get over there.
Talk time.
Okay, and I think we're going to pretty much be talking specifically about Winter Soldier this week. That's going to be our subject. We literally just watched the last episode, so we should ideally be fresh in our minds. So the 6th episode appeared on Friday. And, spoilers, if you have not watched the episode, if you have not watched the series, we're going to be talking about it. So
do not watch it right now if you're watching it live. Pause right now if
Yes.
you're not watching it live. Run.
Okay, so what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts was that it was really cool to see Sam's new outfit.
Cool. We'll move to that slide. It was huge because that was our cliffhanger last week, was him opening the case from the Wakandans and what was it going to be. And man, it is the exact comic accurate costume pretty much. I mean, I've got it on the left and then I've got his on the right. Look at that. Even the belt buckle is like the same shape. I mean, they went very much for his comic. This was the costume that he wore when he became Captain America in the comics for a time. Steve Rogers has since come back and become Captain America again, but during the time that Sam Wilson was Captain America, this is what he looked like. And man, they nailed it.
I'm trying to read what it says in the comic.
Oh, what he's saying there? Let's see. I don't know. Oh, yeah. That's actually a good image. It says, you guys all knew it was me, didn't you? There's literally no drama left in the reveal that he is the new Captain America.
I think because I don't think you made this picture. I'm guessing you got it somewhere.
Well, I mean, I did, yes. I put these two pictures together, yes.
Oh, I thought if someone else did it, they did that on purpose. But you did that accidentally.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about what the words were. I was just trying to find a good picture of him from the comic and then a good picture of him from the show to put them side by side, and show how completely accurate they made it. I mean, even more so than with WandaVision, when they had in WandaVision, finally, after her being in several movies and then her having the entire series, at the very end, the last episode, they finally have her get to a costume that's close to her comics costume, but not nearly as accurate as this. I mean, this is the exact costume that he wore in the comics, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love it. It looks great, and the way he was using his wings, and then the combination of like the wings and the shield, and your favorite. What's your favorite?
Red Wing.
Red Wing. Getting new Red Wing. Actually, it looked like there were several, right? Because there were like two of them on either side of him at one point when he was kind of using his jet power to push the truck up.
They all were.
Yeah, it looked like there were at least 3 jet streams going, so he may have more than one Red Wing available to him now. But yeah, I know you were really sad when Red Wing got torn apart a couple episodes ago. So he's got a new Red Wing.
Episode.
Yeah, so he's got a new Red Wing. He's got new wings. He's got a new. We assume this is Wakandan made, so it's made of adamantium, or not adamantium, vibranium. Man, I went to the comics there really quickly. So I mean, the shield is vibranium. His costume's probably vibranium. The wings are vibranium. Red Wing is vibranium. So I mean, no one should be able to tear his stuff apart anymore. Yep. So yeah, now he's Mr. Vibranium. Yeah, that's Black Panther.
I was about to say, I'm the one that just a little while ago said all this stuff is by vibranium.
Yep.
Not you.
Okay. Well, I'm saying it now. But yeah, just the way he was using it, the way he was moving, the moves that we saw in practice last week, being able to use the wings in conjunction with the shield, in conjunction with his moves. I mean, Sam is now like a way cooler character. He was always a cool character, but now he is a way cool Captain America, and he is now our new Captain America.
For now.
For now. Well, I don't think they have plans on bringing Steve back anytime soon, at least in the Marvel movie. So I think he's going to be Captain
I'm
America.
pretty sure he's not on the moon.
Yeah. Well, that's a reference to the comics, because that did happen in the comics. Steve went for a time. He had aged for like the super soldier serum had been taken away from him, and when that happened, he like aged up to his like 100 years of age at that point, and he like went into seclusion on the moon for a while. So that's what that was referring to. That was a comic book reference. But yeah, I mean, they don't plan on bringing him back, as far as we know, anytime soon. This whole series, I mean, that was the point of this whole series was to get Sam to the point where he could become the new Captain America, mentally, physically, and equipment wise, to be prepared to be the new official Captain America.
Equipment wise is physically.
Okay. So I mean, and him defeating the villain, defeating Carly, but then defeating Carly, but then bringing her message, to the leaders. I mean, basically saying, it's not just about him being Captain America in battle; it's him, honoring Steve's legacy, honoring his own values, honoring Isiah Bradley, to say that he, as Captain America, is going to fight not for the government, not for a spy agency. He fights for people's rights. He fights for the regular person. He fights for the people who were displaced, the people who came back. He fights for all the people. He does not fight for the leaders. He did not fight for the governments, and so he's, on TV having.
But he disagreed with them.
What?
He protected them, but he disagreed with them.
Well, I mean, you're talking about, Carly's people.
I'm talking about the leaders.
Oh, okay. Well, he fought to protect them. I mean, they were in danger.
But he disagreed with them.
Right. He fought to protect. Well, just like he disagreed with Carly's methods, but he agreed with her with her goals. I mean, that's why even in her death, she was afraid that her ideas were going to die with her, but they didn't, because she had some trust in Sam, and that trust was well founded at the end because of his speech, of trying to convince people, and it worked, to say, you need to do what's right for the regular people, and not just what's right for the banks. The lesson he learned himself. I mean, all the things from the show all tied together. Although we didn't see that he did get a loan from the bank, but he did have all the people in the neighborhood help him put the boat back together. So now the boat can be used again, instead of having to get rid of it. So we saw the big happy party at the end of everyone all together. We assume that his sister is going to be able to keep using the boat and keep the family business going. And keep feeding her family by allowing by being able to use the boat and keep the family business going.
I don't know what their business is.
Their business was fishing, was shrimping. They showed them. They had nets, and they get shrimp. Yeah, I'm
gonna quote this. Every day, I'm getting 5 and spending 10.
Oh, yep. Yep, that is what his sister was saying. And that's a lot of businesses do operate that way, is the amount of money, especially now, in the last 2 years, is the amount of money coming in versus the amount of money going out. It's an equaling for a lot of small businesses. But, we don't want to get too political on this. So moving back to the fun stuff, U.S. Agent. I did a similar side by side there. It actually is U.S. Agent from the comics, fighting the Captain America, Sam Wilson, and then showing that they basically just took the Captain America costume that he already had, because the styling, the front piece and everything, was pretty much the U.S. Agent styling, but with the Captain America blue. So they just got rid of the blue essentially and replaced it with black. He even said it himself. It's basically the same costume, just black, but that's what that's what U.S. Agent's costume was. So
the government doesn't need a Captain America. When the time comes, they'll need a U.S. Agent. or
I
something
mean,
like that.
we don't know if it's the government. I mean, we don't know who Val is representing. Contessa Valentina, de Allegra de Fontaine.
Call me Val, but
Call
keep
me
it
Val,
in your head.
Right, exactly. We have no idea who she represents. I mean, she's been involved in so many organizations in the comics: Leviathan, Hydra, Shield. She's worked for all of them. We just know in the comics she's one of the top trained secret agents in the world. She's up there with Black Widow. She's up there with Sharon Carter. She's up there with Nick Fury in terms of spy training. Yeah, don't move your headset or microphone.
It's hooked on. It's hooked on my
okay.
bed.
Okay, that's fine. So we have no idea where that's going to go. I mean, obviously U.S. agent is now working for her. She's going to call him when she needs him. But who is she calling from? I mean, is it the agency that Nick's working for in the satellite, that we've seen up in space? Is it going to be part of Secret Invasion? Is it going to be part of Black Widow? Who knows? I mean, the whole Marvel spy world, we don't know where it's going because Hydra's kind of gone, but maybe not. Shield's kind of gone, but maybe not. Sword, we saw the head of Sword that we knew of, taken away at the end of WandaVision. So there's all these agencies in the Marvel universe. Who knows who she's working for? It could be the introduction of a Leviathan, which would be a whole other organization within the Marvel universe. So time will tell, but they cast a really big name actress, Julia Louis-Dreyfus to play her. So, it's not a character that they're going to drop. It's just like Agatha Harkness in WandaVision. I mean, they're not going to introduce these characters and have them be played by these incredibly high caliber actors and actresses.
I keep yawning.
Okay. They're not going to cast these people without using them down the line. I mean, they're casting them because there's more for them to do later. We've got Bucky's amends. So, Bucky kind of wrapped up that part of his story. He did go back to the elderly gentleman and let him know about his son. We saw that, his whole book was crossed out. He left it for his therapist, and he crossed out all the names that hopefully now, Sam had said you weren't doing amends. You were, basically.
You were avenging.
You were avenging, yeah. So now hopefully he's actually done an amends and gone through and apologized to people and owned up for the sins of his past that he had no control over, but he still feels guilty on. So hopefully this now shows Bucky is now lighter. He's now unburdened himself. And we saw at the end, I mean, between the last two episodes, another part of what the show was about was, the relationship between the two of them. They had always, were the two best friends of the same guy, so they were kind of rivals for Steve. That put them at odds with each other. They always hated each other. Over the course of this series, they've now learned to respect each other and actually become friends. And especially, the way they worked together on his boat last week and then were part of the team together this week. I mean, it really showed, how much they've grown as two people, from where they started through the two people who had the staring contest, with the therapist, that they've now finally become friends.
Just a couple of guys.
Just a couple of guys, yeah. What do you think about that, about the relationship between them and kind of their growth over time?
I think it's good that they are getting to know each other and becoming friends. And I just noticed something on the picture you have up there. I see Zemo.
Oh, yep. He was on his list, yep.
Yep. And Zemo said that he took it upon himself to cross out his name on the list.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did say that, right, yep. Yep, yeah, they had their moment kind of last week. And Zemo, we saw him again, serving in the prison. It's the same prison that a lot of the heroes ended up in at the end of Civil War, the Raft. So we'll see in the comics when Zemo was captured and I think put in, I don't know if it was named the same thing, but basically the similar idea of the prison in the comics. They put him in there with a lot of other superpowered villains and stuff like that, and he ends up breaking them all out and forming the Masters of Evil using them. So that could be a future storyline in either comics or movies, or sorry, not comics or movies, in shows or movies, Disney Plus shows or Marvel movies that could have Zemo coming back as the leader of the Masters of Evil. That's what had always happened in the comics. So, but yeah, it's good to see the relationship, see the growth, and then we've got Sharon Carter. Big spoiler. Yeah, Sharon Carter is the power broker. I mean, a lot of us had kind of started speculating that. A lot of, I mean, that's the thing. I think everyone feels kind of burned from WandaVision. It's like, okay, thinking we know where it's going and thinking things, may go somewhere, and then they don't, so we weren't sure, but everything seemed to be leading to that. The phone call she was having, the fact that she hired Batroc, being the art dealer in Madripoor seemed to be that she had much more going on, and that's kind of what the power broker is someone who is managing things to have power. And now we have confirmation that Sharon Carter is the power broker. And then the after credits scene, I mean, where she gets exonerated, so now they're going to let her be Agent Carter and be in the spy agencies, in the Marvel universe again.
And we saw that call at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. Her character as the power broker so far has been making phone calls. That's like her secret power. Her superpower is making phone calls to the right people. And we don't know who she was talking to basically say we now have access to advanced technology and secrets and everything. Because she's now been brought in. I did not see that coming initially. I did not think they were going to go that route with Agent Carter.
I have a speculation.
Okay.
Val working for Power Broker.
It's possible. They could be on either end of that phone.
And I like that the picture has her right next to Power Broker is watching.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
I can tell you probably did not do that.
Yeah, that was on purpose. Well, I didn't make the image, but yes, someone put up this image on purpose to go with their speculation that she is the power broker. They took one of the official images of her and put it against that shot from the show. And it turned out to be accurate. But yeah, that last
tease. You speculated it a while ago.
We did. We were talking about it basically ever since the Madripoor episode. When she made the phone calls at the end, and then also especially when it turned out that when Batroc was brought in, that we found out that she was the one who brought Batroc in to work with Carly's group. So, okay, and then we did actually get some wrap up to Isiah Bradley. We kept being worried that they weren't going to bring him back, and they did. So, I mean, I like the way it turned out. I mean, it was not as full as it was in the comic books in terms of him being fully embraced. Like in the comics, they showed that it was public knowledge that Isiah Bradley had been the Black Captain America. Or when it became public knowledge, like all these world leaders, Nelson Mandela, Obama, they all came, to pay tribute to Isiah Bradley as the Black Captain America. They didn't show that here. Their version of that, that would have been a little bit too much to try to get in at the end there and to try to do special effects and have him side by side with famous people like that. So I like the way that they kind of did it, which was Sam taking him to the Captain America exhibit at the Smithsonian and showing him how now they had a Isiah Bradley section. We can assume, and you were the first one to say this when we were watching it, we can assume that he probably had them right that he had died, because Isiah still did.
He probably told them he was dead.
Probably. He probably did. When he had people create that, because we know Isiah still doesn't want people to know he's alive. So, but just the fact that we had that moment of Isiah getting to walk into the Smithsonian and see the bronze statue of him, see the plaque about him and what he went through and everything, and honoring who he was, and it showed him watching, Sam's speech, and even watching Sam's speech, we saw that, he acknowledged that, yes, his struggles now have meaning. His struggles everything that he went through has meaning now in Sam. And I really like the idea from that. What do you think? Any other feelings?
Not really.
Yeah. So for the show overall, what's your thought?
And you're doing it with not really too. Same thing you do with yes. You laugh when I say yes.
Talk more. Have more to say.
You can't just ask someone to have more to say.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm doing it.
Now
Okay.
let's continue.
Okay, let's continue. You've just experienced a father-daughter moment there, folks. They're going to happen from time to time. So, I mean, like I said, any last thoughts about the show? Any more about it as we wrap up here? There is one rumor. I don't think I have a slide for it, but I mean, literally just today is a rumor that the person who wrote the whole show, Malcolm Spellman, has already been set up by Marvel to start writing a Captain America movie. There had been speculation about whether there was going to be that this show, unlike WandaVision, they'd always pretty much said it's that show. It leads into the Doctor Strange movie. It's a standalone thing, but there was speculation saying that the story in Falcon and Winter Soldier could lend itself to a second series, that you could do the ongoing story here. The rumor now is they're going to do the same thing, that this allows them to do a Captain America 4 now. That Captain America 4 would be written by the same writer who wrote this whole show, because he's shown he could write these characters so well. So instead of doing a Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2, this would lead into a Captain America 4 movie. So they can continue the Captain America feature films, have that be part of the MCU, but Sam is now Captain America, and a lot of these characters, they can follow up on the Sharon Carter story. They can follow up, with Bucky. All of these characters can all be continued. What?
Zemo and
yep,
and probably U.S. Agent, aka John Walker.
Yep, U.S. Agent, aka John Walker. Yeah, so all these characters can be followed up on now in a Captain America movie, in the Captain America movies, and allow them to continue those past the original trilogy, because they've now established them. So that may be, like, most of these series may be used as feeders to kind of move the story along into the next series of movies. So that's all I have on Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's all we have.
That's all we have on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Okay. I will let you take us out, Emily. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week. I think we should be starting pretty soon with Bad Batch. I'm not sure. I think that's 2 weeks from now. So we'll have to see kind of, what things over the week we come up with to talk about. So
subscribe and leave a like. Bye.